I'll close the public hearing. It's back up to council. Councilman, Vice Mayor Fuller, you want to lead off, or you want to
Sure, I'll lead
pass
it
your
on.
time to somebody else, or whatever you wish to do, sir?
No, I believe that Mr. Simmons stated it well. It's an assembly use, and there are many types of assembly uses, not just churches. It may, in fact, be a wonderful project, which we would love to have, but it is in a really bad spot for the assembly use that we have. Now, we may just, because of the way this ordinance is stated, we can overrule it. We can go with a gut check here and do what we think is right, or what we think we want to do. And then the reality is, at some point in time in the future, that use still stands, and anything could come in there. I would have a difficult time right now looking at overruling the Planning Commission's decision.
Okay. Councilmember Coppice.
Just like everyone else has stated, we do have to look at this as an assembly use. As Fuller stated, whenever this specific assembly use leaves, the assembly use will stay, and then anything can come in. It's been stated that the parking is affected, and even if you say that the businesses on First Street, they park on First Street, well, when you say we're going to look down the road, one of the places utilizes the parking lot at this time isn't always planned to be a parking lot as well. So whenever that option goes away, and even if this specific assembly use leaves, that public parking that they are suggesting using is going to be a issue again. The same thing with the assembly use. I just don't see that the variance makes sense, because it's not just this project we have to be looking at, it's a long term, and we have to look at all the options. We can't say this assembly use is okay, the next one isn't. It's already been said that we can't put the conditions, that it's not a conditional use thing, and so
Councilman Chairman.
I have a question for the fire chief, if he could come up. I'd like to ask him about the fire sprinkler requirements. Are the fire sprinklers required based on the size of the building and the amount of people in it, or is it just based on the assembly use?
It's an assembly use. It's a change from a B occupancy, which is a normal business occupancy, to an assembly use.
So it wouldn't make any difference if there were only 5 people in there or whatever?
And what we offered to the pastor is if he could find an architect that could develop some kind of architectural change, perhaps exiting, separation walls, those kinds of things, that it might meet the need for the fire code, but it's still going to be an assembly.
But I thought you just said that if it is an assembly use, it has to be sprinkled.
Right, but that can be mitigated through other types of construction on that building, which would probably cost more than a sprinkler system.
So then you're saying that the sprinklers aren't required if the architecture is changed? I'm getting two conflicting things
right.
from you.
As it stands, as that building sits
Yes.
right now, it would require sprinklers under our sprinkler ordinance. If there was some architectural change to it, by separating the small building in front, by using a separation wall, some exiting, perhaps some smoke vents, things like that, that would be the equivalent of a sprinkler system for getting people out of the building, then he may be able to use it as wished.
That's all I have for you. Thank you. I have the same problem with this that I had when it was brought up in front of the Planning Commission. I attended that meeting. And my problem with it is that we really provide no venue for a church that moves beyond a home Bible study session of 5 or 6 people up to this 15 to 20 or 30 people that would be occupying this. The Planning Commission made the recommendation that be further studied, and that's not what's on the agenda tonight. But when I look at the assembly use overlay district and I see that the requirement is 1 acre in size or larger, I think it's very appropriate to ask for a variance based on that specific requirement. I look at number 2, located on a collector or arterial street as defined in the general plan. The street may not be designated as a collector or arterial street, but there really aren't a whole lot of homes on that. So actually it is an arterial street leading to homes on Jackson and that old section of town down there. The third thing is situated such that assembly uses are otherwise compatible with any existing or planned abutting use. You've got St. Peter's Catholic Church in a residential neighborhood, or bordering on a residential neighborhood, that has no parking of its own other than their little lot, and it's a much larger situation. You have Calvary Chapel Church that is in the central commercial area where no parking is required with the building. And I see the location of this being so conveniently situated to the businesses downtown, especially restaurants that a lot of parishioners like to use after the services. I think that it very well does fit. The only problem I see with this whole thing, the assembly use aspect of it, is the acreage size. And that was defined specifically for larger entities coming in, such as Calvary Church. And I think that to make an exception for that one thing is fine. I also have a problem with what Ms. Kopus brought up, and also Mr. Fuller, that the problem with this isn't so much the person that's applying. It's what may happen after that person leaves. I would like to find some way to make this find a way to make this work instead of just simply denying it. I'd like to know, maybe Mr. Dean could weigh in on this, if we could give some sort of approval on a temporary basis. I'd like to know if it can be done so that we can see what the impacts would be in the area, whether there's an impact on parking. If this is truly only a weekend objective, and that I don't really see the church being a substitute for the Boys and Girls Club. I think that the area there is designed for business during the week to have people in there, and it's not the same as having a church service during the week as it would be tutoring some kids. There's going to be the people coming in to pick up and drop off. My other question is, with the chiropractic office that was in there and all the other services in there, how did they ever get away from the ADA requirement of having parking there, accessible parking, as part of their property? Did the city fall down on that? I mean, the ADA law has been in effect since 1991. So I'm kind of wondering where we're going with this, and instead of just denying this dead out, I'd like to get some answers as to possible solutions of getting this in.
I'll let you weigh in, Mr. Dean.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the